Welcome to the Cinemagic Preview Show. This week we'll be reviewing Jon Hyatt's new documentary, Screened Out.
Yep, that was me. I was never good at sports, although I always enjoyed being active outside. But nowadays, I can have most of my interactions on a smartphone. I'm checking emails, news, but mostly social media. And we may be looking too much.
These are changing human relationships, family relationships, with enormous consequences.
Technology companies have been very, very opportunistic about hiring very smart behavioral psychologists to brain hack and to make these devices purposely compulsive.
What company can say they have billions of subscribers? Billions of users?
If mom or dad is staring at their phone, then the kid is going to say, that's the way I'm expected to behave.
And boy, am I distracted by my smartphone. It pulls me away from my work, my children, and my relationships.
What are the real costs to these technologies we're using?
How does it make you feel when mommy and daddy are on their phone and not listening to you?
Sad, because I can't talk with you for a little bit.
It's an emerging public health crisis of internet addiction.
So I decided to hit the road and get some answers about what these devices are doing to us and how they're impacting the younger generation.
We use Facebook when we're feeling lonely. We check YouTube when we're feeling bored.
We've seen the age at which children begin to use screens go down and the amount of time they spend go up.
I think these companies are doing everything they can to short circuit free will.
We want to psychologically figure out how to manipulate you as fast as possible and then give you back that dopamine hit.
This was not addiction by accident. This was addiction by design.
The inventors understood this, and we did it anyway.
It is very unethical attitude.
They make more money when you do that. It's that simple. You know, the last time Congress passed an important piece of legislation around privacy or regulating technology, Mark Zuckerberg was in first grade.
I think we are entering a health crisis, and we're asleep at the wheel.
How long before tech and gaming companies become too powerful to stop?
What do our young Cinemagic reviewers think?
My name is Jack Dunlop, and this is my review on the documentary Screened Out. The film Screened Out's story is basically covering elements of looking into smartphone technology and how it affects us as a society, and showing us statistics and telling stories about how it's positively affected people and how it's also negatively affected people as well. The film genre is a documentary, and the things I liked about it was that the statistics that they provided weren't anything that I had ever heard of before, such as the goldfish reference, where if you watch the film, you'll understand what that means. But I found all the cinematography and the camera work all impressive. The one negative I would say is I would think it drags on a bit. It's a bit too long, just because they kind of go over the same points over and over and over again. And I feel like, personally, it's a wee bit too long. It's just an hour and 10 minutes, and I feel like they could have shortened it. Personally, one of the positives that stand out to me as well is I liked how the filmmaker looked in at home as well. So he didn't just cover everyone else's story. He actually homed in with his wife and his two children and tried to ask them and incorporate how smartphone technology has affected them as well. And I feel like for someone who's watching who has a family, it would be more insightful and informative. The target audience, I believe, for this would be a more mature audience, so maybe 12 plus, because it covers areas of mental health and stuff like that, etc. But as much as I say 12 plus, like, anybody could watch this documentary because it's really insightful and really kind of puts it in perspective for you how much we do use our phones, and it's quite scary how much we use our phones on a daily basis. So finally, out of 5, I would score this film a 4 out of 5, just because the one thing that would stop it being a 5 out of 5 would be that it was too long. I felt like it was too long at all, but I love the information that was given, and I thought it was really insightful as a film.
Hi, my name is Emily, and this is the Cinemagic Preview Show. I like the personal feel the film had, with the handheld camera style providing a home movie feel. The director used his own family and explored how they use technology and how it affects them and the relationships between each other. Another thing I liked was the use of different mediums, such as a short animation sequence of a pigeon who was trying to earn rewards, and this was a metaphor for the rewards people can earn through social media and video games. He used a range of different camera techniques, from an extreme close-up showing an eye looking at a phone screen compared with expansive drone shots over Silicon Valley. The film moved at a good pace with a fairly even split between narration from the director and interviews with other people. And I think that this film was targeted towards anyone who uses technology, but I think it had a particular focus on parents and teenagers. I would rate this film a 3 out of 5.
So the film I'll be reviewing today is a film called Screened Out, which is a documentary based on the dangers of social media and how much of an addiction it is. So what I really liked about it is how it really gives you a lot to think about, especially in the long run, and even more during this current climate, as it really shows you a lot of the hypocrisy to do with it. As in, before all this, we'd be complaining about how screen time, social media was such a burden, like how it's really affecting our lives. But now during this pandemic, we have to live with technology even more now, through Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Skype, all of it. We're depending on this now. So it really shows you more of the criticism about it and how more of a bad thing it is, which I do believe they should be focusing on, and we should be improving this. But all in all, the social media aspect is a really great choice to make a documentary about. Plus, it also compares to gambling addictions as well, as it shows statistics from 1957 based around gambling and how social media is basically the same. And the target audience for this, I believe, to be children, teenagers and young adults, as this would more relate to us. But overall, a great film, great documentary. I really hope you watch this. Overall, I give it a 3 out of 5.
Our Undersea Corner guest this week is YouTuber Ryan Hollinger.
I was always that nerd that would talk about film whenever he could, but I think it was when I got to secondary school that I found I had a bit of a talent in filmmaking, and so I pursued that for several years, thinking that that would be where my career would end up. And when I got to moving image arts, despite having still a massive interest in the whole narrative and filmmaking side of things, I find myself gravitating much more towards film culture, film analysis, and, you know, breaking down things, and that inspired me much more. So when I got to Queen's for a year, I did film studies, and I find myself less interested in the production side and much more interested in the academia side, and so I just naturally find myself much more excited by that. My main motivation for starting the channel, I think, was because I had always wanted to be a YouTuber, but I never really knew what my voice was as a creative at that point. I did briefly have a channel while I was in secondary school, and then people started finding it, and then I got paranoid and then just deleted everything. It was when I got to university that I felt a bit more inspired that I could sort of like reinvent myself in a way, and then I had noticed that not many people were like doing the sort of academia, film analysis, film critique stuff at the time. It was very new on YouTube because this was like 2013 when I started. And then I did it as a hobby for several years. And then when I got to University of Ulster, did animation, one of my lecturers was like really encouraging me to kind of pursue what was clearly my niche, which was to do horror analysis and to do analysis in general of film and animation and different kinds of new media. And that's sort of where I ended up. My love for horror comes from two places. There's the cliched answer of it just being a sort of interest in like the supernatural and the unknown, and I just think that stuff's kind of cool. Then there's the other side of me that sort of began to see horror in a therapeutic way, where as life got complicated and frustrating and stressful, I started to see horror as a way to channel fears and anxieties, and in a way, it was not only like gratifying to be able to relate and empathize with things that scared me, it helped me to cope with them a lot better. And so this thing that started as a way of just having being scared and enjoying all the spooky stuff was a way of like, I think, in finding comfort and finding some sort of understanding about life from it. To me, a good horror film is one with a very simple, straightforward concept with enough mystery and ambiguity to keep you interested, and it doesn't give too much away. And no matter how zany, wacky, wild, ridiculous, outlandishly out there it is, it can be humanized in that people can still relate to the fears and anxieties, even if it's set in space or if it's set in some sort of alternate dimension, because films have to be human, you know? It comes from a place of self-awareness. I think if a film takes itself too seriously, people begin to disconnect because it loses that emotional attachment that people need to engage with the film. And no matter how scary it aims to be, it still has to be fun at the end of the day. My list of favorite films tend to change based on what mood I'm in, but if we're going for what I think is consistent in the things I would bring up, Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, Donnie Darko, Reservoir Dogs, Fight Club, and John Carpenter's The Thing. My main ambition for the future is to adapt what I do here on YouTube onto another platform, whether it be radio or television or just something in broadcast in general, maybe even documentary. I'm currently in the early stages of writing something for print, but obviously I can't say anything more than that for now because, you know, NDAs and stuff like that. But if there's any agents out there, any production companies that want to get in touch, call me. My one piece of advice to any creative in general is just don't burn out. There is way too much pressure on young people these days to be working 24/7 and turning what they do into a complete lifestyle choice and nothing else. Here's the thing, you're only human, you're going to get tired, you're going to make mistakes, and your mistakes and your flaws are what make you human, so don't be afraid to take breaks when you need them. Take care of yourself, look after your mental and physical well-being, because life is short, as I'm always told by my parents and by everyone else around me, and it is not worth destroying yourself for one creative ambition. You should always take time to do things and pace yourself out because you have plenty of time, especially when you're young. You have all the time in the world. So relax, enjoy what you do, and don't falter under the pressure of what everyone else tells you to do.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.